This is the Everyday AI Show, the everyday podcast where we simplify AI and bring its power to your fingertips. Listen daily for practical advice to boost your career, business, and everyday life.
If you listened to our Monday AI News That Matters segment, I told you we were kind of in for a wild week. That's because after a somewhat slow-ish week last week, I said on Monday that this week was going to be a banger in terms of new AI features you can actually use. Sure, I knew ahead of time a few things that were going to come out, but even I was kind of blown away just yesterday at the sheer amount of new updates that all dropped within hours of each other. I mean, no joke. On Thursday alone, we got huge new AI features from Google, Microsoft, Anthropic, and OpenAI in a matter of hours. That's why on Fridays, we break down what's new in AI that you can actually use. And we do it in a very specific way. We give you the AI features that are available for you today, not rumors, leaks, or waitlists. These are instant AI upgrades that you should be putting into play today. And we've got a lot to cover on today's show. So stick with me for the next 25-ish minutes, and I'm going to tell you how ChatGPT went full Jarvis mode and the new app shots secret that unlocks the future of work. I'm going to let you know the new Claude feature that took a page out of the Codex playbook, but actually made it a little bit better. And I'm going to fill you in on the kind of new Google agent that you can start using today, but with one caveat. All right, let's get into it. Welcome to Everyday AI. My name's Jordan Wilson, and we do this every day. It's your unedited, unscripted, daily live stream podcast and free daily newsletter helping business leaders like you and me keep up with the avalanche of AI news and updates. I tell you what matters, how to use it. You take that information, poof, you're the smartest person in AI, and you can grow your company and your career. So it starts here, but make sure you go to the website at youreverydayai.com. We're going to be recapping the highlights from today's show. So if you miss any of the details, maybe you're out on a walk and you want to go back and say, wait, how did this work? It's all going to be in the newsletter, as well as all of the other AI updates you need to know. All right, let's get straight into it. I'm a big fan of the Friday features show. I wish I would have started it like 3.5 years ago. We've been doing it now for about 6 months. But just for our podcast audience, I'm always showing on my screen some basic, information from the company. You're not missing anything. So just FYI, but let's dive in live. I'm going to be sharing my screen, just kind of showing the windows for the different announcements that we're going to be going over. All right, so let's start first with your health. Yeah, this is actually one I'm personally excited about. I know some people aren't going to be, diving in headfirst necessarily to give their health data to anyone, let alone an AI company. For me, I'm absolutely wildly going to be using this. So here's what's new. ChatGPT Health is finally rolled out to everyone. It is launched for all US users today. And it's expanding the feature that was first introduced in January, but it was introduced as a waitlist feature, and it connects your Apple Health and supported medical records directly into ChatGPT. So what the heck can it do? Why is it useful? Well, it can compare your lab results, summarize changes since a prior appointment, track your medications, factor in your sleep, activity, and workouts, essentially anything that, your Apple Health might track and all the different applications that connect in there. Well, it can bring in that data and anything else that you can update or upload into ChatGPT Health. So OpenAI says that health conversations obviously live in a dedicated space, siloed from all your other chats, right? So yeah, you're not going to have all of that information popping up via like a memory into your other chats. So like I said, this is already rolling out to US users. You do have to be 18 or older. But the cool thing is this is available on free plans, on paid plans, and also on iOS. So one small caveat, though, free users, you're just going to be using kind of the model that you have the most access to, which is GPT 5.5 Instant. And then for other paid users, you'll be able to use the more powerful GPT 5.6 Soul. All right. So why is this useful? Right? Because right now, obviously, there's no one place for all of your health information to live. Like, I can't tell you the amount of conversations I've had with people about this over the last few years. And, there was a company out there that was kind of, AI native. They were called Forward Health. They are no more. And I was kind of excited about that concept because I'm like, there needs to be something that's not tied to a single provider that allows you to just essentially bring in all your health records and to have a smart system that just knows all that. So obviously there was nothing previously that would have stopped you from doing this inside of a large language model like Claude or ChatGPT, Gemini, Copilot, etc. But it wasn't really set up for this, right? So think of this as a specialized version of ChatGPT that's siloed from everything else. So it keeps all of your health data separate, but it is literally built for this. So, right now, your health info is scattered across different patient portals, EMRs, apps, and it just pulls it all into the conversational layer. And there's also some kind of practical prompts baked up for you, right? So, how your cholesterol might be trending, or how you can summarize your blood work before an appointment, what you should ask your doctor tomorrow, etc. And that context kind of bleeds usefully into everyday tasks like factoring a dietary restriction into your restaurant picks. So, who's going to find this valuable? Well, this is obviously a consumer play, but I think this just goes to show where OpenAI has started to focus more recently, right? Not necessarily just on the models, but how to make their models more useful for more people in more ways. So, whether you are just someone that wants to get a little bit more serious about your health, you just have questions, or if you're managing chronic conditions, if you're a caregiver trying to track something in your family health or just preparing for your upcoming appointment. So obviously, OpenAI says this is not intended for diagnosis or treatments, and health conversations aren't used to train foundation models. So pretty big one. I'm excited to get this. I signed up for the wait list previously, wasn't kind of selected to be part of that first group. So this is one I'm going to be jumping into head first. All right. Our next AI update, a new update, well, new-ish feature from Anthropic, just kind of borrowing from the Codex playbook, but I think they made it a little bit better. So Claude has some new voice mode upgrades. Oh no, this is not the one. Sorry, that's a little bit better than ChatGPT's. So this one is voice mode. Not quite as good, but also this one is a little different. Yeah, just so many new updates. Even I'm getting confused, and this is all I do every single day. All right, so this new update from Anthropic is essentially expanding how and where their voice mode can be used. So Anthropic has upgraded the Claude voice mode to run on Opus and Sonnet for the first time. That's because previously it ran only on their least powerful model, which is Haiku, which is why for me, I absolutely never used voice mode inside Claude on my phone for that very reason. But now I probably will. The cool thing as well is you can switch models mid-conversation, and voice mode now works with connectors. So that is the big difference right now with the one thing that's maybe a little bit better is that their upgraded voice mode works with connectors, but it's not bi-directional. So it's still kind of the quote unquote older, dumber version of a voice mode. So you've heard me kind of rave about the new GPT Live. That's because GPT Live can listen to you and speak at the same time, right? You can interrupt it. It might interrupt you. And it's kind of listening, thinking, and doing all these things at the same time. So this is still the old school walkie-talkie mode where you talk, you wait, Claude responds. But the big benefit here is it can use connectors. So pulling in your live data. So that's not something that GPT Live can do, although you can individually upload files into GPT Live. And OpenAI did say that they are working on bringing connectors. So here's who has access. You have to have a paid Claude account to get that upgraded Sonnet in Opus voice mode. Otherwise, you will be defaulted to Haiku. So free accounts do have a very limited usage and only a single connection. And all prompts then obviously go through Haiku. And right now, voice mode does support 11 languages. So why is this useful? Well, if you want to be able to chat with your connectors and you have a paid Claude plan, this is really good, especially if you don't mind kind of working in walkie-talkie mode. For me, I've really enjoyed kind of the bi-directional or duplex new way of talking. It seems like that's the future of the voice interface. So as long as you don't mind kind of this more kind of waiting and holding and only being able to talk or listen at once, not that bad. So who's going to find this useful? I mean, anyone that's a power user of Claude, if you're doing any hands-free work, commuters, executives between meetings, or just operators who want to think out loud. Pretty big update and release here from Anthropic. All right. Next, we have another new image mode from Microsoft. All right. So here's what's new in MAI Image 2.5 Pro. All these image models are always a mouthful, right? We should just, I don't know, Microsoft get a fun like Nano Banana name, and then we can call it, why not like Clippy Pro? 2.5. All right. So this is launched, and it's launched in a lot of different places. So it is in Foundry preview. It's in Microsoft Copilot PowerPoint, and it's in also a variety of other places. But the new image mode, it's pretty good. I don't think we have a lot of benchmarks on it just yet, but I would assume that we get those probably within a couple of days. So this is Microsoft's newest, highest fidelity professional grade image model, built, they say, for superior high quality imagery, detailed editing, and precise in-image text rendering. So this does, Microsoft says, handles text to image generation, plus controllable edits, object removal, replacement, in painting, text updates, all while preserving composition.
Are you still running in circles trying to figure out how to actually grow your business with AI? Maybe your company has been tinkering with large language models for a year or more, but can't really get traction to find ROI on Gen AI. Hey, this is Jordan Wilson, host of this very podcast. Companies like Adobe, Microsoft, and NVIDIA have partnered with us because they trust our expertise in educating the masses around generative AI to get ahead. And some of the most innovative companies in the country hire us to help with their AI strategy and to train hundreds of their employees on how to use Gen AI. So whether you're looking for ChatGPT training for thousands or just need help building your front-end AI strategy, you can partner with us too, just like some of the biggest companies in the world do. Go to youreverydayai.com/partner to get in contact with our team, or you can just click on the partner section of our website. We'll help you stop running in those AI circles and help get your team ahead and build a straight path to ROI on Gen AI.
So who has access? So yeah, it is now available in Microsoft Foundry. If you do have a Microsoft 365 Copilot plan, you can use this right now inside of PowerPoint, or you can use it via the API. The pricing is $5 per 1 million text input tokens, or $8 per 1 million image input tokens. All right. And then $106 per 1 million image output tokens. So why is this useful? Well, I'll say this. Right now, if you're one of those organizations that can only use Microsoft Copilot and you can't use anything else, then this is great. This is a nice upgrade over the previous MAI Image 2.0, but it's still presumably, right, we'll see what the benchmarks say, at least from my trained eye, this is still fairly far behind GPT Images 2, which is the best AI image model in the world, and also the Nano Banana 2. So those are kind of the top two, and then you have some more Chinese open versions of these, but the best two still are GPT Images and Google's Nano Banana. So not really in the same tier. We'll see what the benchmarks say, at least by my kind of quick trained eye. I still think that there's probably a quality drop off, but regardless, if you are someone, especially I think in if you are building decks in PowerPoint via Copilot, being able to use this image generator in there is going to be big, right? So yeah, I know that so many people out there are kind of living inside of PowerPoint, and maybe your visuals and the old clip art just won't do. I think this is going to be pretty big. So, if you're trying to create product imagery, marketing visuals, brand assets, big. It is big for those purposes when you can't use anything else. All right. Our next AI update you can use today. Yeah, it was this big of a week that I didn't even really honestly get a chance to play with a brand new model from Google Gemini. Aside from just some daily driving tasks, I haven't really given the new Gemini 3.6 Flash a run. So here is what's new with Gemini 3.6 Flash. There's actually 3 different models, but I say most people are focused on Gemini 3.6 Flash, but they also unleashed Gemini 3.5 Flash Lite. I know, confusing. So they released both the 3.5 upgrades and updates and new variations in the 3.6 Flash, which is the first of the 3.6 Flash series. Even more confusing, the Pro series is still stuck on 3.1. So yeah, now your latest and greatest Google Gemini models technically have 3 different step changes. You have 3.1 Pro because we are still waiting for 3.5, or maybe they'll skip straight to 3.6 Pro. So you have 3.1 Pro, then you have the 3.5 Flash Lite and 3.5 Flash Cyber, and then the only one on the 3.6 tier is Flash. So extremely confusing. They're all for different purposes, but let's break down at least what's new in these models. So Gemini 3.6 Flash, essentially not that much smarter per se, but it is cheaper and more token efficient. So Google says that Gemini 3.6 Flash consumes 17% fewer tokens than 3.5 Flash, while taking fewer reasoning steps and tool calls in multi-step workflows. Then you have 3.5 Flash Lite, which is the cheaper and faster version of Flash. All right. So Flash is like your, cheaper version. And then Flash Lite is the cheaper and faster and more lightweight version. So the 3.5 Flash Lite is the fastest model in the 3.5 series at 350 output tokens per second, built for low latency, high throughput work like agentic search and document processing. And then you also have that third model, Gemini 3.5 Cyber, which is tuned specifically for cybersecurity tasks. So who has access? Well, everyone. If you're a paid user, you can go into Gemini, your Gemini.google.com, the Gemini API inside AI Studio, Android Studio, Anti-Gravity, Gemini Enterprise, right? Literally wherever you're using Google Gemini, for the most part, you can find the new 3.6 Flash there. Flash Cyber, though, is limited access only. That's the, government and trusted partners, similar to, a Mythos or OpenAI has their Daybreak, I believe is that what their version is called. So why is this useful and who should be using it? Well, if you are a developer, especially if you live inside of the Google ecosystem, if you're working on, just document processing in bulk, if you're working on any agentic tasks, that's where it's going to pay off, right? It's cheaper and more token efficient. You pay less per token and burn fewer tokens in the process. And that's kind of the agentic economics 101 story there. So 3.6 does also, 3.6 Flash does deliver higher precision coding with fewer unwanted edits and reduction in loops, essentially, right? So if you're a dev running production agents inside Gemini, or if you found the previous version of 3.5 Flash to work in terms of price per performance, I think that 3.6 Flash, although it's not a big bump in terms of capabilities, it is just a little faster and cheaper and more efficient. So any developers that have already been using the Flash series is going to be good for you. And then also Flash Lite, important here, will power the future Google Search AI overviews where speed really matters the most. So the big news here is, well, we still don't have a new Pro version. Yeah, we were kind of reports this week. If you follow our newsletter, we covered this, said that the Pro version may get delayed a few more months. And then we similarly got news from frequent everyday AI guest Logan Kilpatrick, been on the show a handful of times, did say that Google is pre-training Gemini 4. So who knows? Maybe we technically won't get a Gemini 3.5 Pro or a 3.6 Pro. Maybe we'll just be in for a longer wait and we'll get a Gemini 4 Pro. Not sure, but Google did say that they're pre-training Gemini 4, and we saw reports that the Pro series is delayed. So if you put 2 and 2 together, maybe that just means there will be no 3.5 or 3.6 Pro, and we'll just be going straight to 4 Pro. We'll see. All right, let's go to our next one. And yeah, this one, I'm both excited, but a little bummed. But this is kind of how Google rolls out some of their products. Maybe I'm just being a little snobbish and, wanting the best tools for where I actually need them. But yes, we finally have a new 24/7 personal agent from Google that just works. I'm talking about Gemini Spark. So not technically new, but new to most everyone because this did launch in May, but only those two on the Ultra plan, which is that $200 a month plan from Google Gemini. So we didn't cover it on the show in May, right? For the most part, I only cover on the Friday features, those that come out to the base paid plans, right? Your $20 a month plan, not your plans that are $100, $200 a month. So that was launched for Ultra subscribers in May, but now Google has released Gemini Spark to all Pro subscribers as well. So that's Google's personal AI agent for automating complex tasks. It's rolling out. I have access to it right now. So it performs multi-step tasks on your behalf, research, planning, complex workflows while you focus on, well, whatever else. So it's kind of built on these 3 different concepts. So you have your tasks, which is your high level goal. You have your skills, right? The open skills standards. Those are your reusable instructions with context, and then schedules. So those are automated triggers like times or conditions. All right. So like I said, if you are on that base paid plan, you should get access to it now. Especially if you're in the US, Google did say that other countries are going to be getting access to it soon. So here's the downside or the caveat. I have no clue when it's going to be rolling out to workspace plans. This is usually one of those things that they say soon. So if your business runs on Google, on a paid Google Gemini account, maybe you have access to it, maybe you don't. But if you are on a standard paid, Google Gemini plan like me, right? So my personal Gmail, I have a paid Gemini account for my personal Gmail. I have a paid Gemini account for my work emails. So on the work side, we don't have this. So for me, it's like, well, I don't know how much I'm going to be using Gemini Spark in my personal Gmail, right? I just use it more for testing and for certain purposes in Gemini that I don't have access to in my workspace account. So why is it useful? Well, it works inside of the Google apps, right? So any app that you give Spark access to inside of the Gemini workspace, it can essentially go and, monitor for updates in those apps, push updates from, docs to slides or from your Gmail to your calendar, right? So this also works with your personal intelligence, that new feature from Google. There's a remote browser and computer with code execution, chats, Canvas, all those different things. So an example that Google gave is, saying Google Doc, the task is to plan and manage your business trip coming up. It'll look through your Gmail, your calendar, and your schedule, and it will tell you, oh, your flight is delayed, or, a travel booking skill, plus a Gmail writing skill. You can rebook the room and send a confirmation or something like that. So Spark can now open, read, and edit Google Docs directly, with that expanding to spreadsheets and presentations, including reading comments and editing shared team docs. So I think Gemini Spark was previewed a super long time ago. And at the time, I was personally very excited. But It took obviously many months for it to actually roll out. And it's still, at least according to my research, not available for every single paid workspace plan. So obviously, this is great if you run Gemini in your business, but not all business paid accounts have access to this. All pro accounts on the personal Gmail side do. So if I'm being honest, 6 months ago, if this rolled out to my workspace account, I would be talking about Gemini Spark every single hour because it's great. But right now, you can do most of these things anyways with Codex or Claude Code, Claude Desktop. So that's why I'm not like going to be, raving about Gemini Spark. It's kind of interesting that in a lot of cases, OpenAI, Anthropic, and the crazy thing is even sometimes Microsoft offer some of these features and functionalities before Google does with their own products, right? So even Microsoft rolled out essentially an open Claude-esque integration, and you can connect with Google. So although it's exciting, technically Google a little bit behind even in their own backyard. Although I do know that millions of people will like this update, and that's why I decided to cover it on the show. All right. Two more, and we are getting to our big one. But before we talk about how ChatGPT can now be your Jarvis, we have to talk about this is the one where Anthropic took a page out of the Codex playbook and made it a little bit better. That is the new record a skill feature that just shipped this week in Claude Cowork. So this is essentially you can screen record yourself doing a task once, and then Claude analyzes the recording and turns it into a reusable, runnable skill. So Claude captures screen activity, cursor movements, keystrokes, and the new addition that we don't have just yet in Codex, at least not by default, is your voice narration. So then it processes all of that together in the recording, and it turns it into a structured skill that saves it to your library. So who has access? It is rolled out to all paid plans now. So free users can still use existing skills, right? But you can't obviously record new ones. So it was a little confusing to find this. So it's only available on Cowork. So you have to go into the chat interface. So now obviously Claude Desktop changed their interface a little bit. It used to be the 3 different tabs. It was chat, Cowork, and code. Now it's just chat and code, but in chat, there's a Cowork tab, right? So you have to be in chat. You have to go find your Cowork tab. You hit the plus button, and then you can find the new record a skill. So it actually took me a little bit of clicks to find it. I'm like, wait, where is this? So you do need to update this. This is desktop only. So update your Claude Desktop app, go into chat, click the Cowork tab, click the plus button, and then actually super useful. So I did a little bit of testing. It's really good. So why is it useful? Well, until now, creating a skill meant either chatting with Claude and having it create one for you. You can obviously create those skill MD files by hand, but so many times it's just like at the end, and you should be doing this, FYI, if you're not already doing this. The way I look at new chats or tasks in any, large language model, especially any agentic one, when I'm done and I get an output where I'm like, this is good, you should be turning that into a skill, right? So this is instead of having to work through it or to handhold, right? Claude or Codex or anti-gravity or anything, right? At the end, you would normally say, turn this into a skill. So the difference here with the teach Claude a skill is, well, you don't have to work through it. You just click start recording, you do your work, you dictate through it. You say, here's what I'm doing, A, B, and C. I'm opening this site. Here's what I'm looking for on this page. I download it. I open it in this program, right? And it'll just record all of that and turn it into a skill. So like I said, technically taking a page out of the Codex record and replay skill that did this exact same thing. But the downside with codexes is by default, there is no voice narration, right? There is kind of some workarounds around that, but it is nice that in this new one for Claude Cowork, it is just enabled by default. You don't have to have any workarounds to actually narrate your way through that skill which is very helpful, obviously. So who's going to find this valuable? Well, literally anyone. So if you're a Claude desktop user and you use Claude Cowork, it's going to be great. I would love to see Anthropic roll this out for Claude Code as well. I think that would be really helpful, just because seemingly, I'm guessing Claude Cowork is not kind of riding that same wave of popularity that it was in earlier 2026, just because the interface kind of got changed over a little bit. And I think more and more people are starting to use Claude Code and just more of the agentic features and the normal chat section. So you can only set this up in the Cowork, which is a downside, but literally anyone that uses Claude and you're doing the same processes over and over, I mean, this is big, right? I absolutely loved and use this codex skill all the time for my workflows. So I'm personally happy to see this in Claude Code. The other thing, here's the big unlock, y'all. You can do this I talked about this in Codex as well. You can do this in Claude Code or Codex, go through, record the skill, and skills are shareable and they're fairly openly supported across all different platforms. So you can just create a skill, very detailed skill, as an example, using this new feature from Anthropic, and then use that skill inside of Google or use that skill inside of Codex or ChatGPT. All right. And our last big feature, and y'all, this is one of those instances where I'm like, okay, this is crazy after I tried this. So yeah, hasn't even been out a full 24 hours, but OpenAI went full Jarvis mode and they launched ChatGPT voice on desktop. And it's a lot more than it sounds like, but let me go through the bullet point details first. So OpenAI launched ChatGPT voice in the desktop app, powered by GPT Live, which I already referenced, that lets you talk through work and coordinate tasks across chat, work, and Codex. So per OpenAI's announcement, you can control your computer and direct multiple agents running in ChatGPT work or Codex using just your voice with GPT Live, speaking, listening, and coordinating work simultaneously. So here is how OpenAI kind of describes the main benefits. So it says you can work across projects. You can start a new task, coordinate work in progress, and pick up where you left off without micromanaging. You can work across your desktop. You can use your files, apps, and connected tools from Slack and GitHub to Notion and beyond. And you can explore, plan, and learn. You can talk through a pull request, ask questions about a code base, or learn a new topic through natural back and forth. So who has access? Well, if you are on any paid plan and you're using the desktop version of ChatGPT Work / Codex, it's the same thing. It is out now. And it works also with ChatGPT's remote feature, which is pretty cool because you don't even need to be in front of your computer. You can just have your phone, right? I have one, right? I'm traveling right now. I'm not in Chicago, but I have essentially a home Mac studio that never gets shut off, and I can be controlling it right now and just with my voice, and it can be doing literally anything, and I can be watching and seeing it go in real time. So this just kind of brings that GPT Live mode that was announced about 2 weeks ago to the desktop. So before, that was only available via mobile. So it doesn't just bring it to the desktop. But this is the first time where I'm like, wait, you technically don't even need to type or use your mouse anymore. Then yes, I haven't been able to run it through many hours of demos, but the possibilities for this one are absolutely bonkers, y'all. And it is so good. So let me talk about a couple things. Number one, it works with ChatGPT's remote feature, which is great. That's just on your mobile app. You can click remote and you can technically control any computer that you have connected to that ChatGPT account. So that's cool. But here's the other thing, app shots. All right. So what app shots are, if you're, a power, Codex or ChatGPT work user, the default, is the 2 command keys, and it takes essentially a screenshot, but not just a screenshot, but every single thing it brings into context that you have in that program. So as an example, right now on my screen, I have up some notes, some bullet points that I wanted to go over, right? But it's a very long list. So obviously what's on my screen is probably only like 5% of what's in that document. So if I use the app shots, it's going to obviously take a screenshot of what is actually on my screen, but it brings in the context of everything else in that program that I have up that is not even on the screen. So the cool thing is with this new, I kind of wish we could have got a fun name for it. I know they can't use Jarvis. I'm just using Jarvis, right? Like you can have this app shot feature and functionality while you're using ChatGPT live voice on desktop. So in my kind of playing around, I had, 6 or 7 different programs open on my computer, hands free, not typing, and just telling ChatGPT work or Codex what to do. Open this file. Okay, great. Can you find this change that I made? It's probably somewhere in the middle, and it can find that using the app shots, right? Bringing in all that other context without having me to always tell it, oh, somewhere in this document, I think that I outlined something about that certain KPI, right? It's all there, and it's absolutely bonkers. So, why we keep saying Jarvis is this is literally the scene out of Iron Man, right? When Tony Stark is at his computer just saying, hey, Jarvis, pull up this, go do this, right? Now we actually have this for the first time and it works. So not just having the remote is cool. The app shots is kind of that hack. But what I'm really excited about is for the future of this. So obviously OpenAI's computer use with the new GPT 5.6 model took a huge leap forward. But the thing I'm actually excited about is when we get that super blazing fast Cerebras integration. So, OpenAI did say that it was coming in July. So when we can bring this with this ridiculously fast version of GPT 5.6, what you are able to accomplish in front of your computer without even sitting down is amazing. So I don't know, maybe this is going to bring back the popularity of having like a treadmill desk or something like that, or just being able to go touch grass. I'm like, okay, is this going to also, the XR glasses and all these other things? I'm actually geeking out and excited about this one because I don't know, like I don't like sitting in front of a screen all day. I like getting up and walking around a lot, right? And obviously you can have voice dictation apps, but that's different. So this is just a completely different way to work, a different way to interface with smart AI. It's one I'm super excited about. So this is useful to anyone. So if you're using the new ChatGPT Work desktop app, which is essentially the developer or the technical version of Codex. This is, in theory, a way to completely change how you interface with the computer, not just how you use ChatGPT and how you work, but literally how you interface with the device. So I'm geeked out about that one. I am too, or I hope you are too. Maybe I'll do a Wednesday demo of that one. So that's a wrap on all the things that are new this week. Let me give you a very quick update of our 7 AI features you can use today if you have paid plans. So ChatGPT Health is out and launched. Claude has some nice voice mode upgrades. You no longer have to talk to the dumber Haiku model. You can talk to the smart Opus and Sonnet. We have the new Microsoft MAI Image 2.5 Pro. Google released Gemini 3.6 Flash and Gemini 3.5 Flash Lite. We got the new Gemini Spark, Google's always-on 24/7 AI agent that is available now to pro users. Anthropic's very useful Claude Record a Skill, including that voice, being able to narrate your skill, which is great. And then last but not least, OpenAI went full Jarvis mode with ChatGPT voice on desktop. I hope this was helpful. If so, do me a favor. If you're not already, please subscribe to the podcast on Spotify or Apple, and then go to youreverydayai.com. We're going to be recapping the highlights from today's show, anything you missed, and everything else in today's newsletter. So thank you for tuning in. We'll see you back Monday and every day for more Everyday AI. Thanks, y'all.
And that's a wrap for today's edition of Everyday AI. Thanks for joining us. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and leave us a rating. It helps keep us going. For a little more AI magic, visit youreverydayai.com and sign up to our daily newsletter so you don't get left behind. Go break some barriers, and we'll see you next time.